Hey everybody, Sue's here from Revelation Quilts. Check out this 2-color quilt I designed. I'm going to show you how to make it in this tutorial. Welcome to Sailor Song Quilt Tutorial. So when I designed this pattern, I had 2 yards of this light fabric, and then I've got these dark fabric. So I figured out that I can get 12 10-inch cuts out of a yard of fabric. So I have 2 yards of the light and 2 yards of the dark. So according to this table that I found that I will link to in the description, it shows how many squares of a certain size you can get out of 1 yard of fabric. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 4 of the 10-inch squares, 2 lights and 2 darks. We're going to stack them all on top of each other, getting as close as you can to a perfect stack. Line them all up nicely. And we're going to slice these into 2 4-inch strips, and then you'll have a 2-inch strip left over. So let's get these sliced. We're going to go with our first 4-inch strip here. And then another 4-inch strip, all nice and lined up. And then so we have a 2-inch strip left over. And now I'm going to take these and I'm going to separate the lights and the darks. And I'm going to put the light strip, 2-inch strip between the dark ones, and the dark 2-inch strip between the light ones. And now I'm just going to take my 2-inch strips and the first set of 4 inches, and I'm going to take these over to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew these on right like this. I'll be right back. So the one thing that's really important about this is when you are ironing these, so I've got my 2 light strips sewn on, but when you go to press these seams, this is vital and I don't want you to miss this. On one of them, you're going to press the seam allowance away from that 2-inch center strip. And on the second one, you're going to press the seam allowance toward the 2-inch center strip. And so I want, this is going to be vital when we sew them together. And so I did the same thing with the dark to light ones. One is going away from the center strip and one is going toward the center strip. So keep that in mind and keep track of that. And the reason I ironed it like that now is because when I sew this second strip on, I can just look on the back and see, oh, well, I've sewn that one away, so I need to sew this one, press this one away, so I need to press this one away as well. So let's get the second strips sewn onto there, and then we'll press those in the appropriate direction. So as you can see here, I've got my 4 pieces. Of the 2 ones with the blue on the outside, I've got one pressed away from the center and the other one is pressed towards the center. And I've done the same with the white ones, as you can see. So the next step is we are going to line these up together. So on the little block that has the seams pressed away from the center, I'm going to pair that up with the opposite color block, the one that has the seams toward the center. I'm going to stack those on top of each other. And because of the way I pressed it, those seams are going to nest right together perfectly. Hopefully you can see that. And then that way I can line them up perfectly. I can look at the bottom, make sure they're nested, and I can look at the top and make sure that they're nested. And so that way it sits together totally perfectly. Now this one has the white one on the top. So on the second block, I'm going to do the exact same thing, except I'm going to put the dark piece on the top. This is also really important because our pieces, we're going to make 4 separate blocks, but the 2 of them are going to go the opposite way as the other 2. So when you have this on your cutting table, once you've aligned these up and they're all nested the way they're supposed to go, you should have 1 block with the light fabric on the top and 1 block with the dark fabric on the top. Okay, So the next step is I'm going to turn these to the sides because now they're not perfectly square. They're still 10 inches long, but they're less wide. And so I'm going to turn these to the side and I'm going to trim them to make sure that they are square. Now I know that because I've sewn this strip on, my new block is about 9 inches wide. So I'm going to trim an inch off of the end of this block so that they will be about 9 inches square. And it doesn't have to be perfect because once we are done sewing it the way it needs to be sewn, we are going to trim these blocks up. We're going to square them up. So if you're not perfectly at 9 inches, that's okay. Okay, so I've got them trimmed up the way they're supposed to go. Now I'm going to turn them back so the stripe is facing up and down. The next step is I'm going to draw a line from corner to corner on this. And if when you're using the dark fabric, you might have to use something that will show up. So I'm just going to draw this line from corner to corner with a pencil. Excuse the shadows. I'm going to do the same thing with the dark one. I'm going to use a chalk pencil though, so I can see the line. So I've got this little chalk pencil. Not a very good chalk pencil, I think. And then I'm going to use my pencil, regular pencil in the light fabric here. There we go. So I've got my lines drawn, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew these a quarter inch away from both sides of this line, just like a regular half square triangle. So let's go sew those together. So here we go. I've got a line sewn a quarter inch away from that line that I drew. I've got a seam sewn there. And now I'm just going to cut right on the line that I drew, and it will end up with 2 halves of the squares. So let me get that cut. And for this one, let's go cut right down from corner to corner on the line that I drew. Oh, missed a little bit there. There we go. Now I'm going to press these open, and when you press them open, you will end up with a block that looks like this. So let's get these pressed open. So here we go. Now I've got 4 blocks that I've pressed open, and they look really close to being identical, but they're not. As you can tell, they are the opposite of each other. So this one has the white on the far side, and this one has the blue and the white. So they are different, although they do kind of look the same. Now, we're not going to put them together like this, although that would be interesting. First, before we even think about how we're going to put them together, we're going to square them up. Let me show you a very, very easy way how to square these up. So I've got my, I think it's an 8.5 inch square ruler here. I'm going to take the lines where my 3-inch lines intersect, and I'm going to lay that right on this little square here that kind of looks like a half square triangle. And then I'm going to take my 45-degree line and I'm going to make that coincide with the 45-degree line right on here. So I've got my 3 inches here and here, and my 45-degree line going right down the diagonal line of that block. And I'm just going to trim this off just like that. I missed a little bit. There we go. And just like that. And now I'm going to turn the block over completely upside down. I'm going to do the same thing to this side. So I'm going to keep my 45-degree line there and my 3 inches going right along there. So that was something we already cut. And I'm just going to trim the tiny bit of excess off of this side and this side. Just little slivers, really. Little baby slivers. I'm going to do that to all 4 blocks, so then they will all be squared up. So there you go. Once you've got these all squared up, you should end up with 4 8-inch blocks. Now, if when you squared them up, they were less than 8 inches, if you want, you can just make them 7.5 inches. It's completely up to you. Just make sure this area is all the same on all of them, these little squares in the corners. That way you'll have consistency with all of your blocks. Now, the way we're going to put this together is I mentioned that these two are opposite colors from these two. So we're going to make big squares in the middle. So I'm going to take these two, and my corners are going to meet up like this. It's going to kind of look like a chain, like this. So as you can see, this makes a big blue square. And I would sew these blocks together like this and make a big block. But I also want to show you all the different ways that you can lay this out. Now, half of them you're going to put together like this. The other half you are going to put together with white triangles, white squares like this. These go here and this goes here. So now, as you can see, I've got a big white square in the middle, and I'm going to make rows of these up on my design wall. So if you love this, that's awesome. You can sew these together like a 4-patch, and then these are the seams you'll have to match up, and we've already have them going in opposite directions, so they will nest perfectly. But I want to show you all the different layouts that you can make with this. And at the end of the video, I will put a montage of all the possibilities. But in the meantime, let's get this one up on our design wall to see what all I have going on up there so far. All right, so here's the finished quilt. I love the way it looks. Everything came together so easily because of the way we pressed our seam allowances so that all the seams just nest really well. This entire quilt measures 60 by 45, and it was really fun to see this quilt go from my graph paper to my design wall. That was the best part for me. And I don't often do just 2-color quilts, but it was really fun and I enjoyed it. So I'm going to call this quilt the Sailor's Song quilt because it's got all these old world navigation fabrics in it, which I just love. So thanks again for watching. Thanks for sticking around to the end. And after this, as I promised, I'm going to show you many of the other layouts that you can use with this block, and the possibilities are almost endless with that. You can make this your own by using your own layout. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now I have a little story to tell you. Last month, my husband and I both celebrated a pretty big milestone birthday. So in honor of that, he is taking me on a vacation somewhere in the Caribbean to another country. So in honor of that, and in honor of you staying till the end of the video, I have this template from Missouri Star Quilt Company. It is the Simple Wedge Small Template, and I'm going to be giving this away to one wonderful person who watched this video until the end. So all you have to do is in the comments, put down which country you think we are going to visit in the Caribbean next week. And the first person to get it right, I will mail this to them. So thanks for staying till the end and have a great time sewing. Bye-bye.